Day 2 is part of the forming section of the creation week. God first creates an earth that's formless and void and dark. He creates light. He makes light to illuminate the dark world. Then he begins to form it, and then once it's formed, he begins to fill it. And the first act of forming, you could say, is the creation of light and the separation of light and darkness. But then he creates the firmament and inserts the firmament between the waters above and the waters below. And that forms an above and below. It forms a world where there are waters in heaven and there are waters on earth. And that distinction runs through the entire Bible. When people go into heaven, they see a sea of glass in front of God's throne. And those are the heavenly waters. Sometimes the heavenly waters come down. We have a distinction in Exodus between the land that Israel was going into and Egypt, where they came from. And the distinction is made in terms of waters above and waters below. The rain from heaven, God waters the land of Canaan that Israel is entering, rather than water coming up from the Nile, groundwater arising from below to water the land of Egypt. They're going to get water from heaven that's going to water their own land. So the first form that we have in the creation is this distinction between the waters above and the waters below. The Hebrew term for the firmament is rakia, which means something that's beaten out, beaten flat. It's used to describe a piece of metal, for example, that's beaten into a sheet. And at least that's the appearance that the firmament has. If we look up to the sky, we look at a dome. That's the firmament. And it looks like a piece of blue material, solid material that's been beaten flat. But when we actually look at the rest of the creation week, we see that the firmament is not just that barrier. The firmament has depth. It is a barrier, but it has depth. We know this from day 4 when God inserts into the firmament the sun, moon, and the stars. And the sun and moon and the stars become a symbol, visible from earth, a symbol within earth, within the system of earth that resembles the glories of heaven. That's one of the reasons why the firmament is called heaven after it's formed in day 2. It's an earthly image of heaven, and the sun, moon, and stars that are put in there are an image of God and His glory, with the stars being symbols of the sons of God, the angels that are surrounding Him. And so in the creation week, we have this built-in analogy, this built-in metaphor between the highest heaven, where God is enthroned, and the earthly heavens, which are the firmament. We could also say it's the barrier that lies between God's highest heaven, God's throne room, where God is enthroned, and the earthly realm beneath. That barrier shows up in a number of places in the Bible. When the elders, Aaron and Moses, feast on Mount Sinai, for example, they look up at the Lord, and they look up through a pavement that looks like sapphire, and up above the pavement they see the Lord. And the Lord is visible to them as they eat and drink in His presence. He doesn't stretch out His hand against them, and they have a meal in the presence of the Lord, but a meal with a barrier between them. Ezekiel sees a similar barrier when he sees the glory of the Lord appear by the river Kibar when he's in exile. He also sees this barrier between this firmament that is above the figure that he sees in the midst of the glory cloud. That barrier is not a permanent feature of creation. This, I think, is one of the reasons why there's no pronouncement that the second day is good. We think that after everything God does, He pronounces it good. Creates light, separates light and darkness, that's good. He separates the waters and the land and makes the plants grow from the land. He says that's good. He puts the stars, sun, and moon in the heavens, and He says that's good. That's true of every day except the second day. There's no pronouncement that it's good. And I think one of the reasons for that is because that barrier that separates the throne room of God and the lower realm of man is not permanent. That's going to be shattered. We actually see a picture of this shattering in the book of Revelation. In some places in the Bible, that firmament, which looks like a solid dome over the earth, is pictured as an ice dome. Hail is a symbol of the shattering of that firmament, the shattering of that barrier. It can be shattered from God's side when God comes in wrath against His enemies or against unfaithful Israel. He breaks through the firmament and He comes with a storm of fire, lightning, and hail. It's hail because He's breaking that ice dome from above. And that's what we see in the book of Revelation. We see several times where hailstorms appear, especially at the end of chapter 16 in Revelation, where there's a hailstorm with hailstones that are 100 pounds each. And the reason for that is because the whole story of Revelation is about the throne of God, which begins above the firmament with the sea of glass, the firmament sea, the heavenly waters in front of the throne. From that position, when John first sees the throne, to the position at the end of the book where God's throne has come through the firmament, shattered the ice dome, and come down to dwell on the earth. And that's the final condition of creation. When that barrier between God and man is gone, the veil is lifted, and the bride and the bridegroom live in fellowship and communion forever. The creation account is, among other things, a temple building account. God is building his cosmic temple. And we can find analogies between the construction of the tabernacle by Moses, the construction of the temple by Solomon, and the creation week. And one of the things that's happening in both cases is the formation of boundaries. God creates boundaries between the waters above and the waters below. He makes boundaries between the land and the sea, the land and the ocean on day 3. God is creating and forming a world. That's what Moses and Solomon do as well when they build their sanctuaries. They form a world, bound off the holy places from the profane places, bound off places that have different degrees of holiness. So we have this analogy built into the creation account between temple building and creation. And that informs our understanding of what the firmament is. I mentioned in the first episode of this series that the firmament is not just a shell, it's not just a flat shell, a dome above the earth, but it actually has depth. We not only know that from the creation week because the sun, moon, and stars are placed in the firmament, but we also know that from several places in the Psalms where the firmament, that heavens, that visible heavens, is compared to a tabernacle. Psalm 19 tells us that it's like a tabernacle. The Lord has made a tabernacle for the sun. And Psalm 150 begins with an exhortation to praise him in the sanctuary and to praise him in the firmament. There's this poetic parallel between the firmament and the sanctuary. And I think the firmament, this thick barrier, that corresponds to a particular section of the temple. It corresponds to the holy place. The holy place is the place where we have the lampstand, that is the sun, moon, and stars, the lights of heaven as the ancients understood it. The holy place is where we have bread, the bread of God. The bread of God comes down from the sky during the wilderness wanderings when it comes down as manna. God feeds Israel with the bread of angels, we're told in the Psalms. That's another indication that the firmament is the holy place. And then the holy place also contains an altar of incense that is a kind of ladder from the holy place into the throne room of God. So in the Old Testament, the priests, when they were doing their ministry within the holy place, were doing it in a symbolic firmament. They had ascended as far as the firmament, but they had not ascended all the way to the throne room. They hadn't gone through the final barrier into the throne room. And this, of course, is what Jesus does for us, according to the book of Hebrews. He goes into the inner sanctuary. He goes directly into the throne room of God, taking his own blood, having offered himself as his own sacrifice, and he makes a way for us, not just into the holy place that the ancient priests entered, but he makes a way for us past the holy place so that we are seated with Christ in heavenly places. We share the throne of God. We receive the benefits and blessings and gifts of the inner sanctuary, not just the blessings of the firmament. We are elevated above the sea, above the firmament, with Christ in glory.
Did you think that the center of the earth was proven or something? Like, did you think that this? Do you think that was 100% a fact? Huh. Interesting. I'm going to present to you today that this and this and this are all just guesses, or more formally known as pseudoscience. I started researching. How do we know the center of the earth? How do we know that it's made of iron and other contents that cause magnetism at the North and South Pole? The deepest hole within the U.S. is the Bertha Rogers gas well in Oklahoma at 32,000 feet, 6 miles deep. But the deepest hole known on the earth is on the Kola Peninsula in Russia, near Murmansk. Talking 8 miles deep. Pretty far. Remember, the farthest that we've physically seen with our eyes is 8 miles. How deep's the crust? The crust is 6 to 40 miles. And they're claiming the core is 1,850. So immediately what you should be asking is, how do we know the rest? How do we know what the inside of the Earth looks like? Scientists rely on seismic waves, shock waves, generated by earthquakes and explosions. What they're telling you is they're looking at a graph going up and down on a seismometer, depending on the layer that it's going through as far as a medium, and that figured out the rest. Wow. Weird thing, though. Keeps popping up every time you look at this. For some reason, they feel the need to defend the shape of the Earth constantly, but don't provide any proof. And by the way, whoever wrote this article, this is an error right here. That needs to be image. I don't know why you're saying photograph. It's admitted there's no photographs of the Earth as a whole. You may ask me, okay, smart guy, well then what's at the center of the Earth? I don't participate in pseudoscience, are you kidding me? I don't know what's at the center of the Earth. Or it could be on a topographical plane that goes on forever. Who knows if there's a core? Who's to say there is one? I don't know. By the way, as those guys were digging the 8 miles down, they were trying to guess what each layer was, and they were wrong every single time.
I struggle to remember the day that I just woke up and everything was different. But I honestly did. One day I just woke up and I could see the world for something different. And little did I know that was going to start one of the biggest paths of my existence. Put it this way, there is not one flat earther that didn't grow up believing in the globe. This stuff has literally been programmed in us. There is honestly an undisputable amount of evidence that giants used to roam our realm. And even dragons, there is literally more evidence of dragons than there is curvature. And behind them closed doors of evil, they know they have done their job of deceit perfectly on this realm. And it feels like a total breath of fresh air to be able to talk about this stuff on my videos and just let it all out. Because this world needs to be spoken about more and more and more.
Look at that pattern in the middle. Now you can focus that pattern out of it, but it's just awfully strange to me that the moon doesn't do this. I only see this pattern in the stars. Look, I'm gonna focus it out of it. See? And I'm gonna go to the other end. All I'm doing is adjusting the focus here. That's all I'm doing. I guess that would be considered textbook focus right there. But I like it better. Right about there. Yep, right about there. I just think that looks so cool, and it's the clearest. I mean, look at that design in the middle, that pattern. And if you pause it just right, you'll see a face. You can screenshot it, and sometimes you'll see a little smiley face or what looks like a emoji in the middle of the star. It's so wild. But definitely looks like there's something there, like a core or some type of I personally believe that these are spiritual beings, angelic celestial beings. I believe the stars are absolutely alive, and nobody can tell me otherwise.
The earth is flat. All right, man.
And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the waters, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And God made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so.
On the ground at all, 10 kilometers. Huh? He's got about 2 wheels on the ground. He's a big rooster tail out of all 4 wheels. And as he turns, he skids. The back end breaks loose just like on snow. We sound like we've probably got enough of the Grand Prix. We're willing to let you go on from here. Turn blue. We're breathing again. Thanks a lot. Okay, Neil, we can see you coming down the ladder now.
Nick, can you believe that?
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That's the weirdest sunset ever.
I've never seen it do that before.
It's like it looks like a Lego pieces.
It's just sitting in the water.
It's a layer of fog.
Are you kidding me?
It looks like a pyramid. The Earth is flat.
It looks fake.
Closer to, isn't it?
Whoa! When the weather's really dry, the glare goes away, and you can see like the circle of the sun.
Why is it because setting on the water?
It looks like it's digital.
Yeah, it looks digital. Exactly.
It looks like
Like a Pac-Man or something.
Intergalactic car.
Intergalactic.
There it goes.
Wow. That's so weird. Intergalactic, planetary. Oh, Richard's taking a picture.
Intergalactic.
Wait, no, it looks like it looks like a boat.
No one lose their
Wait,
phone.
green flash, guys. We're gonna see it because it was so pink.
It's not clear enough.
Do you guys? The green flash exists, but it's only because when your eyes don't see that red, that orangey pink, it replaces it with the opposite on the color spectrum, which is green. That's why you see green flash.
I can see it happening right now.
Yeah, you'll see a green flash because it's gonna disappear and then you'll see a green flash.
That's so
You see the green?
weird. I don't see green.
I see it.
How come I don't see green?
When you just stare at it for a moment.
not in outer space. It's right here. Shouldn't the sun be 93 million miles away? And shouldn't we be doing elliptical orbits around this thing at 66,600 miles per hour? Weird. It's almost like we've been lied to about everything. It's almost like we've been conditioned to believe a religion. You know, like a cult. But there's the sun, and there's the horizon in the background.
Jet fighter pilot films sun below a flat horizon, no curvature found. The sun is clearly seen below the horizon in the clouds.
The flat Earth map dates back over 1,000 years. This map is credited to being created by a Persian astronomer. His name was Al-Biruni and he lived between 973 AD to 1048 AD. It's the official map of the United Nations and also the United States Geological Survey. It used to be present in many places before the creation of NASA and the Antarctic Treaty in 1959. Here you see it with Admiral Byrd. This map has been restored by Dmitry from Russia with suggestions of mine, Eddie Alenkar. Known by my YouTube channel Flat Earth Banjo, I asked Dmitry to include the Bermuda Triangle and Point Nemo, a place deep in the Pacific where NASA buries rockets. Then Robert Tozzi, a professional mapmaker, came along and enhanced the map even more. There are many people now selling this map online, but if you could order it from my online store, I would greatly appreciate it. Visit my online store now and order one of the items. I humbly thank you.